if you want and you're in the middle of nowhere, just hanging out, having a good old time, you can crank it up pretty good. Sounds great. Pretty easy, pretty inexpensive. It'll get you by while you're driving, but sorry, Benz, we beat you on this one. All right, let's real quickly talk stereo system, what I decided to do, why I decided to do it. 2021 van, I believe. And it's got keyless push button start. Part of the reason why I decided to go this route is because of the push button start and a lot of the factory stuff being kind of built in here. So I don't think you could, or definitely wouldn't want to replace this factory head unit. Gosh, maybe you could, but there's a lot of vehicle controls built in here, a lot of information, you name it, tire pressures, whatever. The navigation's a little silly, but it has CarPlay, which is fine, works good. But yeah, van settings, whoops. I mean, you got the full 360 cameras, emergency system, parking sensors, lane keeping stuff, backup cameras, active brake assist, automatic door locks, acoustic lock, whatever that is. So there's a lot of stuff. All your backup cameras, front cameras, side cameras, 360 cameras, you can select and see all of that in here. You can even see like the torque output from the motor, all sorts of stuff. So replacing that's kind of a option. So part of the reason why I decided to go with a completely separate house stereo, we can call it, kind of like your house bat, house stereo versus kind of the start bat and kind of the car's factory stuff. So I didn't want to tap into the Mercedes stuff that much at all. I'd rather just let it be Mercedes, be happy by itself. These things get weird with electronics. They don't want power pulled from them, you name it. They're a little goofy like that. So that being said, first, I just wanted to leave it alone. Second, can't really replace the head unit because of all these things, all your integrated stuff. I know you can get aftermarket steering wheel controls. They usually don't work that well in my experience, but you can. But why not just use this to power the rear? So it does not have any RCA outputs. It doesn't even have rear speaker outputs back here. It just has front speaker outputs, which give you a tiny little speaker there and a normal door speaker here that are pretty bad. They honestly don't sound good, especially with the van completely stock before all the sound deadening and insulation back there. It's getting better where I can actually kind of hear the factory stereo now, but pretty rattly van, pretty poor stereo. So some of the other problems, you can't pull RCA to kind of replace and re-upgrade. Can't even pull rear speaker. So you're left with just a front speaker output, left and right. So what are you gonna do? You can install like line drivers that take and convert the signal to an RCA. It's not clean, it's noisy, whatever. Then you could, I guess, extend speaker wires wherever. But in all actuality, there's another big problem, and that is that if you put the car into accessory mode like I just did, so without foot on the brake, push the button once to be able to not have the engine running. First, it's pulling power from the start battery right now, draining your start battery, but also this in about 5 minutes is going to turn off. It's saying, hey, I know that this is probably not great to leave it on and it's going to kill your battery, so let's shut off. So decided to just leave the front stereo how it is. When I'm driving, I'm not looking to be ripping a bunch of stereo or anything anyways. Although I can run the house stereo if I want, even when I'm driving, and just kind of use this as the head unit it is for 360 cameras, for CarPlay, navigation, etc. I can listen to a little tunes up front, like it's fine for when you're driving. The point of this whole car is not to be driving though, it's to be hanging. So that's the reason I decided to do a completely independent stereo system for the house stereo, if you will. So the kids can connect an iPad while you're driving. You can listen to all this while you're driving. I could listen from up front if I wanted, could Bluetooth to it, or just plug a USB into it. You name it, you can do whatever you want, right? Just even set a secondary little iPod or USB stick up here just for on the road tunes. So some of the advantages. Now I'm pulling from the Yeti, so I don't have to worry about killing the battery. I get real good output signal. I have RCAs, front, rear, sub, etc. I can control all that, all the crossovers. This is actually meant for stereo. I can actually control sub volume. All of that's easily doable. It's easily upgradable. None of this stuff is that expensive whatsoever either. Car stereo stuff's pretty affordable these days. So what I can do with the way that this is wired, I can pull power from the Vance battery if I want, or from the Yeti, just by selecting battery 1 or battery 2. So battery 1's coming from the Yeti. So we'll go ahead and turn on the stereo, which is kind of a fuse relay for this guy. So we have our remote turn-ons wired, and power and accessory wires for the head unit itself. The power wires for the amps, of course the turn-ons are wired here, but the power wires for the amps are going directly to the hot lead of whatever is selected, 1 or 2, right, to just directly to this post. So they're not pulling through the switch, which is great. Actually, I did lie. The second one, there's not a second one there. The remote turn on is there. The red wire coming out of the back of the head unit. The yellow wire goes up to here, which goes direct to battery 2, which is the car's start battery. The reason I did that instead of whatever is selected, the start battery is always there. It's never disconnected. If it was connected to 1 and I turned off 12 volt, unplugged this, etc., you would lose all your memory, your Bluetooth pairings, all of that, all your settings, you would lose that. So you want this connected to a battery all the time, which is why it's connected to 2. But sounds absolutely wonderful, not limited by any of the factory stuff, not limited by it turning off every 5 minutes, having to go re-push the button. Yeah, so that's kind of the reasons why I decided to go with the stereo system. Went with the 2 speakers back here and just really realized that there's just no performance whatsoever without a mids and highs amp, so I did put in a small 150, I think, by 4. Mids and highs amp, plenty of power. Now if I want to upgrade those, they sound great. And why not throw in a little all-in-one sub? I'm not looking to be big bumping or anything, but a little 8. So the bass is not trying to come out of your mids. They can actually do the work of mids. It sounds wonderful in here. Plenty loud, more than I could ever want. Not that I want to be disturbing people in campgrounds, but you can turn it down real quiet too and just use it as a real quiet little stereo. If you want and you're in the middle of nowhere, you're just hanging out, having a good old time, you can crank it up pretty good. While you're driving, you could crank it up. Sounds great. Pretty easy, pretty inexpensive. Couple hundred for a head unit, couple hundred for a mids and highs amp. Shoot, 50 bucks a pair for speakers, and I think $100 for a all-in-one sub, 150 maybe at most. Little bit of wiring, you know, not maybe a $500 stereo system, and it sounds wonderful. So that's what I decided to do. Follow all my other videos and check out any of the rest of this stuff, all the wiring, the counters, cabinets. Gonna put some drawers in here. Why I decided to go with a Yeti 3 entire power wall, relocating lights, light switches, you name it. Exterior stuff, awnings, ladders, bumpers, fog lights. I got videos for just about everything. Cutting in fans. Yeah, check it out. Enjoy. See ya. Had to get a little YouTube studio going on in here so we don't infringe on any copyrights. This sounds great. We're running off the sun, baby. Pulling about 100 watts right now with everything cranking. All right, let's compare that to stock real quick. We're gonna go ahead and shut that off.
Alright, we're back. This is the main reason right here. You don't want to change out this head unit. Got a 6 here, 6.5. No comparison. They'll get you by while you're driving, but sorry, Benz, we beat you on this one.